An Afternoon at the Estate. Part 1. The Rain Begins. I step through the doorway of the morning room, and the house receives me with the quietest of sighs. The air here is still, not the stillness of absence, but the stillness of a room that has been resting all morning, waiting patiently, gathering its soft warmth around itself like a shawl drawn close against the cooling afternoon. The door closes behind me with a sound that is barely a sound at all, a gentle, exhaled click, and I stand for a moment on the threshold, letting my eyes adjust to the particular quality of the light that lives inside this room. It is a pale light, a kind light. It comes through the tall sash windows in long, unhurried columns, and it has that quality of early afternoon in late summer in England, which is to say it is soft at its edges, slightly silvered, as though the sky has been thinking all morning about rain and has now quietly decided. The windows are enormous and symmetrical and very clean, and beyond them the garden stretches away in gradations of green, deep dark yew at the far boundary, then the lighter, looser green of the elm walk, and closest of all, just beyond the stone terrace, the pale and luminous green of the lawn after several days of warmth, the grass still holding its shape, still standing upright, not yet touched by what is coming. But it is coming. I know it is coming because I can smell it. That first, faint, extraordinary scent that rain sends ahead of itself, earthy and clean and faintly mineral, drifting in through the small gap at the top of the nearest window, which has been left open by just an inch or so, just enough to let the house breathe. I stand very still, and I breathe it in, and it mingles with the other scents of this room, which are already so beautiful, already so perfectly themselves. There is beeswax. There is always beeswax in a room like this, worked deeply into the grain of the pale satinwood writing table near the window, rubbed into the legs of the delicate chairs with their cane backs and their cushions covered in faded, soft silk the colour of sage. The beeswax is warm and faintly sweet and utterly natural, the scent of something tended to with care and patience over many years, over many quiet mornings, just like this one. It sits beneath everything else, a gentle foundation, a low and golden note, and above it, dried lavender. There is a small arrangement of it on the mantelpiece, gathered into a cream ceramic jar with a thin blue line painted around its rim, and the lavender is very dry now, nearly silver, the summer that grew it long gone, but it still releases its scent with extraordinary willingness, as though it has been holding it in reserve for exactly this kind of afternoon. Not sharp, not fresh. Something softer and older than fresh. A memory of a garden, a dream of warmth. I move further into the room, and the floorboards receive me without complaint. They are pale, these boards, pale ash wood, and they have been here for a great many years, and they are perfectly still beneath my feet, solid and unmoving, and immensely reassuring in the way that very old, very well-made things always are. There is a rug laid across much of the floor, cream and the softest possible sage green in a pattern of interlocking ovals, and my feet sink very slightly into it as I walk towards the centre of the room, and the feeling is of something gentle rising up to meet me. I pause beside the writing table and look around slowly. The walls of the morning room are painted in a colour that I have always loved, which is not quite cream and not quite white, but something in between. Something that has absorbed decades of morning light and given it back, subtly warmed, subtly changed. The plasterwork cornice at the top of the walls is white, proper white, and it is very fine, decorated with small repeated motifs of bellflowers and ribbons worked in low relief, and the contrast between the cornice and the wall below it is precise and beautiful and restful to look at. There is a chimney piece in pale marble, grey-veined and cool to the eye, and above it a mirror with a gilt frame that has lost much of its brightness over the years and is now a warm, muted gold, and the mirror reflects the room back at itself in a way that seems to deepen it, to suggest that the room continues on beyond what the eye can reach. There are no portraits on these walls. There are small watercolour studies instead, hung in simple frames, each one depicting some part of the garden in some particular season, painted with quiet affection rather than artistic ambition, and they are all the better for it. A corner of the walled kitchen garden in April, the elm walk in October, the stone terrace in full summer with roses climbing the south-facing wall. They make the room feel continuous with the garden, as though the two are in conversation, as though glancing from the window to a painting and back again is a single, unbroken thought. On the small side table near the daybed, I notice that a tea tray has been left. This is the only sign that someone has been here recently, that someone moving quietly through the house thought of this moment before I did, arranged it, and withdrew. There is a teapot of white porcelain with a slender spout, and beside it a cup and saucer, the cup already poured, the tea inside it a very pale amber, not strong, deliberately not strong, something floral and gentle, rose hip perhaps, or chamomile, or some combination of both from the still room downstairs. A small curl of steam rises from the cup and turns and vanishes. There is a dish of shortbread, very plain, very thin, and a small pot of honey with a wooden dipper resting across its lip. Everything on the tray is arranged with that kind of unconscious care that becomes, over many years, indistinguishable from love. I stand very still and listen, and now it begins. The rain. Not with drama, not with any kind of announcement, but with the quietest possible beginning. The first few drops against the nearest window, slow and exploratory, as though the rain is feeling its way, as though it is not entirely sure of itself yet. I hear them land, each one separately, a soft tap, a slow slide, a gathering, and then a few more, and a few more after that, and then, gently, and with the most natural ease, the sound fills in, becomes continuous, becomes the sound of an afternoon closing gently around a house, settling it, smoothing it, drawing it inward. I turn toward the window and watch the glass begin to change. The rain comes down in thin, bright lines at first, and then the lines multiply and they blur at their edges, and the garden beyond begins to soften, to lose its precision, to become something slightly dreamed. The dark hue at the far boundary is still there, still itself, but its edges now are gentle. The elm walk shimmers. The pale stone of the terrace grows darker as the rain finds it, stone by stone, slow and spreading. The colour of it deepening like something being slowly stained with the most beautiful and natural dye. The sound of the rain against the glass is not loud. It is never loud in a room like this. It is layered and continuous and very soft, and it has a rhythm that is not quite a rhythm, that shifts and settles and shifts again, that never resolves into a pattern simple enough to follow. And this is exactly why it is so perfectly restful. The mind reaches for the pattern and does not find it, and reaches again and does not find it. And somewhere in that reaching and not finding, the mind begins very quietly to let go. I stand at the window for a long moment. The rain slides down the glass in thin, winding rivulets, each one finding its own way, merging briefly with another, separating again, and I follow one of them with my eyes from the top of the pane to the wooden sill at the bottom, and by the time it reaches the sill, I have forgotten to think about anything at all. Part 2. Settling. I turn from the window toward the daybed. It stands against the interior wall, opposite the windows, positioned so that whoever lies upon it can see both the garden and the fire. In winter, and in summer like this, in the cool grey golden light of a rainy afternoon, can see the garden through the wet glass from a distance, from the most comfortable possible remove. The daybed is very beautiful in the way that English furniture of this period can sometimes be, which is to say beautiful without being showy. Its frame of pale satinwood, slender and precise, the legs tapering to small brass feet that rest on the rug with perfect stillness. Its back curves gently upward at one end, a single soft arc, and the whole of it is upholstered in a fabric the colour of unbleached linen, worn now to an extraordinary softness, the kind of softness that only comes from years of careful use. But it is what is on the daybed that I am moving toward. Someone has made it ready. The linens have been turned back at one corner in a soft fold, inviting, unhurried. There are 2 pillows, both in ivory linen cases with the narrowest possible border of whitework embroidery along their edges, stitched in threads so fine it is almost invisible, the pattern a simple repeat of small leaves. The pillows are very full and very soft, and they are stacked one upon the other at the curved end, and over the whole of the daybed there lies a blanket, a thick ivory woolen blanket, loosely woven and extraordinarily light for its warmth, the kind of thing that holds heat without heaviness, that lays without constraining. I sit on the edge of the daybed first. I feel the give of it, the generous, unhurried way it receives my weight, neither too firm nor too yielding, but something in between that is almost impossible to describe, except to say that it feels correct. It feels like the right proportion of support and softness. It feels like something that was made by people who understood the body's need for rest. I reach for the teacup first, before lying down. I wrap both hands around it, feeling the warmth of the porcelain transmit itself through my palms and into my fingers, which I had not realized were cool until this moment. The cup is not large. It is the perfect size for a quiet afternoon. I lift it and breathe in the steam before I drink, and the scent that rises is exactly what I had imagined from across the room. Chamomile and rose. Something very gentle. Something that belongs to the still room and the herb garden, and to no more recent or complicated time than this. I take a slow sip. The tea is warm without being hot, sweet without honey added, though there is a natural sweetness in it, the sweetness of flowers, and it moves down through me with the most extraordinary softness, landing somewhere deep and central, and something in me that had not known it was holding tension releases it. I take another sip. I look out at the garden through the wet glass. From here, from this lower angle, the window is even more beautiful than it was when I was standing at it. The rain on the glass catches what remains of the light and holds it in small, bright, moving points. And beyond the glass, the garden is all soft focus and shifting grey-green, the shapes of trees and hedges, and the stone terrace all present but gently blurred, as though the afternoon is being seen through something gauze-like, something kind. A single rose on the climbing plant nearest the terrace is still visible, deep pink, the colour almost audible in its softness, and it is moving in the gentlest possible way in the rain, not blown, not disturbed, simply breathing. I watch it for a while. The teacup grows lighter in my hands. When I have finished, I set the cup and saucer back on the tray with the most careful, quiet movement, and I turn and swing my feet up onto the daybed, and I lower myself onto the pillows, and the pillows receive my head with the most extraordinary welcome, softening around me, holding me at exactly the right angle, neither too high nor too low, so that my neck is perfectly easy and my shoulders can drop fully, and there is nothing, not a single thing, that my body needs to adjust or compensate for. I lie for a moment without covering myself, simply feeling the weight of my own body against the daybed, feeling the linen beneath me, which is cool at first and then immediately begins to warm. The ceiling above me is the same pale wall colour, broken only by the fine plasterwork of the central rose, from which a small chandelier hangs, its candles unlit at this hour. Its glass drops motionless in the still air of the room. I look at the ceiling and I breathe. Then I reach for the ivory blanket and I draw it over me. And here is what that feels like. It settles. That is the first word. It settles over me as though it has been waiting for this, as though the weight of it, which is light, barely there, and yet precisely present, has been designed for nothing else but this particular moment. It lies across my shoulders first, and then I pull it a little higher to just beneath my chin, and now it covers me entirely from chin to foot, and it holds all the warmth of the room and returns it to me gently. Under the blanket, the linen of my clothing seems even softer than it did before, and the linen of the pillow beneath my cheek is cool on one side, and I turn it to the cool side, and that brief coolness against my skin is one of the finest sensations I have ever felt. Precise and clean and immediately warming, the coolness lasting only a few seconds before the fabric learns my temperature and gives it back to me. I breathe in slowly. I breathe out slowly. The scent here is very close now. The lavender from the mantelpiece has followed me to the pillow somehow, or perhaps the linen itself was stored with lavender in some deep press downstairs where the household keeps its things, and the scent of it is so faint as to be almost imagined, almost a memory of lavender rather than lavender itself. And this is exactly right, exactly perfect. There is also the beeswax, still present, still low and golden in the background of every breath, and beneath everything the cool, clean scent of rain coming through the inch of open window above me. And these three things together, the lavender and the beeswax and the rain, compose something that has no single name, but that I would call, if I were to call it anything, the scent of an afternoon like this one. I turn my head very slightly and I look at the window. The rain is steadier now. It has found its pace and it has settled into it, the way that summer rain in England so often does. Not a storm, never a storm, simply a devoted and thoroughgoing falling, the sky delivering itself to the ground with patient intention. The sound of it against the glass is layered and constant, and the closest thing I know to silence that is not silence, which is to say, it fills the room with enough sound to prevent any other thought from finding purchase, to prevent the small busy sounds of the thinking mind from rising up, because there is always something to listen to, always the soft percussion of the rain, always the slight variation in its sound as a gust moves through the garden and presses more drops against the pane. And then the gust passes and the sound settles again, and then another gust, soft, barely a gust, more a sigh than anything else, and the sound shifts again. On the tea tray, the remaining shortbread sits exactly where it was. The honey pot gleams very faintly. The teapot has stopped steaming now, or perhaps the steam is simply invisible to me from this angle, from this horizontal angle, from this angle of rest. The small ceramic jar of lavender on the mantelpiece stands in profile against the pale marble. The mirror above it reflects the window, reflects the rain on the glass. And so there is rain in two places in this room now. Real rain on the real glass, and the reflection of that rain in the old mirror. And both of them are equally soft, equally quiet, equally present. Outside, a wood pigeon calls from somewhere in the elm walk, a single round sound without urgency. It calls again, after a pause of several seconds, the same note, the same patient circle of sound, and then it does not call again, and the rain resumes its full, uncontested presence in the room. My breathing has slowed. I notice it without trying to notice it, the way that one sometimes notices the moment before sleep without being in it yet, with a kind of mild and pleasant wonder at the body's willingness to let go. My hands are resting, one across my middle, one beside me on the linen, palm open and upward, fingers slightly curled, and they are very warm now under the blanket, and very still. The garden beyond the glass is all pale green and grey, and the steady silver motion of rain. I watch it without purpose. I watch it without thinking about what I am watching. I simply let the shapes and colours be present to me. Let the rain be present to me. Let the sound of it, and the warmth of the blanket, and the soft give of the pillow all be present to me at once. And I do not try to hold any of it. I do not try to fix it or remember it. I simply let it be, and it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything that this afternoon requires. Part 3. Drifting. My eyes are very soft now. I do not close them deliberately. They simply become softer and heavier, and the garden through the glass becomes softer too. The rain becomes a little more diffuse, the green of the trees a little more dreamed than seen, and the line between looking and not looking becomes very gentle, very permeable, the way it does when the body is making its slow and dignified way towards sleep. The rain falls. The rain falls against the glass. The rain falls, and the sound of it is very close and very constant, and beneath the blanket I am very warm. I breathe in slowly. I breathe out slowly. There is nothing I need to do with my breath, nothing I need to adjust or correct. It happens by itself, as breathing does, as it has always done, as it will do for this entire soft afternoon, without my help, without my attention, freely and gently and continuously. I breathe in, and the scent of lavender is there, faintly, and the scent of beeswax is there, faintly, and the scent of rain coming through the open inch of window is there, and I breathe out, and the pillow is cool against my cheek, and the blanket is warm against my shoulder, and the room is very quiet. The rain falls. The elm walk shivers once, very gently, in a breath of wind, and then it is still. The rose on the climbing plant is still visible from here, that deep, soft pink, and it moves very slightly, breathing, and I watch it without watching it, and it is the most peaceful thing I have ever seen. It is the most peaceful thing. It is peaceful. It is still. My hands are very warm. My hands are very still. The linen under my open palm is very soft. It has the texture of something that has been washed a great many times with great care and dried slowly in clean air, and every washing has made it softer, every careful pressing has made it smoother, and it is smooth now. It is very smooth. It is entirely smooth beneath my palm, and I am aware of it with less and less of my mind, with less and less of anything. And that is right. That is perfectly right. the rain against the glass, the rain sliding down in thin bright lines, each one finding its way, each one merging and separating and merging again. And the sound of all of them together is the sound of this afternoon. It is the sound of this room. It is the sound of everything now. I breathe in. I breathe out. The ceiling is very far away and very pale, and the plasterwork rose at its centre is very fine and very still. And I look at it, or I do not look at it. I am not certain. My eyes are so soft now. The room is so soft now. The light through the wet glass is soft and grey and silver and pale, and it lies across the floor in long, gentle, shifting columns that move with the rain and do not move at all. The blanket is warm. The blanket is very warm. Beneath the blanket I am held, simply held, with the lightest and most perfect pressure, with warmth that does not press or weigh, but simply surrounds, simply stays, simply is. And the pillow is soft, and the linen is smooth, and the lavender is very faint now, very far away, a thread of scent in the still air of a still room on a rainy afternoon in summer. My breathing is very slow. The rain falls. The rain falls against the glass, and the sound of it fills the room entirely, fills every corner, fills all the space between the pale walls and the plasterwork cornice, and the tall sash windows, and the tea tray with its quiet cup, and the satinwood writing table, and the small watercolour paintings of the garden in various seasons, fills all of it. The sound of the rain fills all of it, and leaves no room for anything else at all. No room for any other thought or feeling, only the rain. Only the steady and devoted and completely unhurried rain. The rose on the terrace wall is pink. It is very softly pink. It moves in the rain and does not move. It is there, and it is softly, softly there. I breathe out. The blanket is warm. The pillow is smooth and cool at the very edge where my cheek rests, and I am barely aware of it now. I am barely aware of anything now. There is only the warmth and the smoothness and the sound of the rain that has been falling for such a long time now, that has always been falling, it seems, that will continue to fall for the whole of this long, soft afternoon. The room holds me. The house holds me. The afternoon holds me. My hands are still. My hands are very still and very warm. My breathing is very slow and very even, and it moves through me like something I do not have to do at all. Like something the afternoon is doing for me, the afternoon breathing me slowly and evenly and without any effort at all. The rain against the glass, the pale walls, the sage green of the cushions, the faint warm thread of beeswax in the air, the blanket, the warmth, the smooth linen under my still open hand. The rain falls. I breathe in. The rain falls. I breathe out. The rain. The blanket is warm. The afternoon is soft. The rain falls against the glass, and the sound of it is the only sound there is, and it is the most peaceful sound, and it has always been here, and it will always be here, and I am here inside it, inside the warmth and the softness and the rain, and there is nowhere else to be, there is nothing else to do. There is only this room and this afternoon and this soft and steady rain and this warmth and this quiet and this slow breath moving in and this slow breath moving out and the rain and the warmth and the quiet and the rain and the quiet and the warmth and the slow breath and the rain. The rain. The rain, the rain. Sleep now. Sleep. The afternoon holds you, and the rain will stay, and the blanket is warm, and the pillow is soft, and there is nothing at all, there is nothing at all, there is nothing at all that needs you now, but this, only rest. Only the sound of the rain on the glass of the tall windows of this quiet and beautiful room. Only the pale walls and the warm blanket and the still hands and the slow breath and the rain. Only rest. Only this. Only the rain.